Amy Lipman has that exclusive interview.
Donald Trump talked about illegal immigration, corporation-funded candidates, and foreign trade, among other topics, at his rally today. But I got to talk with him one-on-one about issues affecting people right here.
Hello, everybody.
Donald Trump spent the day before the First in the South primary campaigning in the Grand Strand. So what does he plan to do to benefit our area locally?
So many of my friends came to me and they said, because I have so many friends down here, and they said, you got to do something about I-73, so we'll take care of it.
Offshore drilling is another topic important to coastal voters.
Frankly, if we don't have to do it, I'd say it's wonderful because there's so much oil right now, it's great. But we don't want to do anything to hurt the coast. At the same time, I'm a very, very big man for the drilling, so I'm going to take a look at it very carefully.
And of course, stark Second Amendment supporters appreciate Trump's thoughts on gun control.
If you look at Paris, where they have very strong gun control, you saw what happened, 130 people killed. If bullets were going the other way, there wouldn't have been 130 people killed.
But he says he still wants to tackle gun violence.
It's not a gun problem, it's a mental health problem, and we're going to devote a lot of time and effort and money to mental health.
People have criticized Trump for calling himself a Christian while also saying he'll build a wall along the Mexican border. The Pope was among them, but Trump says the Pope has since apologized.
You didn't hear how bad it is in terms of crime and violence for this country. And once the Pope heard that, he really recanted, and I appreciated that.
Now it all depends on what voters think when they show up to the polls tomorrow.
Hopefully, I will make the people from South Carolina very, very proud in a couple of years as president. I mean, it's something that's very important to me.
Shuffling through a security line that extended across the convention center and waiting an extra hour to see the presidential hopeful didn't bother Hillary Clinton's supporters.
When I got in here, I had already waited over an hour and a half, but it was well worth it. The crowd, I didn't expect it to be this big.
The size of the audience also surprised Clinton herself when she got on the stage at 6.
Hillary! Hillary! This crowd is about 4 times more than we thought, so we're pretty happy that you all came out.
Clinton went on to address various issues ranging from climate change and health care.
I just came from Florence, and a woman said to me, she said, I want to thank you. She said, the Affordable Care Act saved my life.
To college tuition and early childhood education.
A lot of kids come to school behind before the first day is over. And we need to do more to help them.
Clinton also spent time talking about terrorism. She detailed her experience as a team member of decision makers involved in the killing of Osama bin Laden.
Remember, when you go to vote on Saturday in the primary, you are voting for who you want to be both president and commander-in-chief.
Supporters say they recognize Clinton's experience is strong.
Hillary has done good for the country and the world ever since she's been a little kid. And so she's going to do good for us. We need it. Everybody in the country is angry.
And they now say seeing her in person especially solidified their votes.
Knowing that she's going to do exactly what she says she's going to do, it meant a lot to have her right here in front of us saying those things and not just reading it on paper.
Now it's up to the voters to decide Saturday whose name they want to see on the presidential ballot. Reporting in Myrtle Beach, Amy Lipman, WMBF News. What Dr. Scott Huffman started in 2002 as a way for students to get real-life experience doing research turned into a professional statewide survey, all within 4 years.
In the fall of 2007, we did a few surveys leading up to the 2008 presidential primary that got noticed nationally.
Since then, the Winthrop poll has continued surveying South Carolinians on both national and regional topics multiple times a year.
We look into concerns about everything from gun control to abortion to concerns about Medicaid and Medicare and welfare.
Right now, the Winthrop poll's focus is on the primaries. But before the data can be gathered, the Winthrop poll needs people to make the phone calls.
Who's appropriate? Do they have the skills necessary?
I'm calling from Winthrop University's Survey Research Lab.
Those skills include understanding how to conduct a fair and accurate poll.
Do you think she's honest?
Question order can bias answers sometimes. If you ask, for example, a lot of questions about the economy before you ask, what's your biggest concern? Well, they might say the economy even if it wasn't.
Once the right people are by the phones, a computer system starts dialing landlines and cell phone numbers billed to South Carolina addresses. Calls go out during the day, at night, and on weekends to ensure a varied survey group.
So we have to make sure everybody in South Carolina has a chance to participate.
The point is to predict what will happen when voters get to the polls. So if someone doesn't plan on voting, the results won't transfer as well.
Accurate screening to make sure the people you say are likely to vote really are the ones who are going to show up.
Next come the questions about candidates and hot topics, which Dr. Huffman says were much trickier for the Republican primary race than the Democratic one because there are more candidates.
So I've just asked about favorability of 15 different candidates. I now have to ask how liberal or conservative you think those 15 different candidates are and who you're actually going to vote for. And that's before we get to any other interesting substantive questions.
In the November poll of likely voters for the South Carolina Democratic primary, Hillary Clinton led with 71% of the support of those who were surveyed. Bernie Sanders followed with 15%, and Martin O'Malley had 2%. Then in the Winthrop poll for the Republican primary that was done last month, Donald Trump had 24% of the support. Ted Cruz, Ben Carson, Marco Rubio, and Jeb Bush all followed behind Trump. And then the rest of the candidates were at or below 2% of the support of people who were polled. But Dr. Huffman says these results can change quickly.
The closer you get to the actual election date, polls become more and more accurate.
Once the primary is finished, pollers will be back to asking South Carolinians about issues in our own state, such as race relations and social issues.
Focusing on national politics is fun, but we're kind of glad it happens only once every 4 years. The truth is, while this brings a lot of attention to Winthrop, we still like to focus on South Carolina.
That's because South Carolina is the Winthrop poll's true roots. Amy Lipman, WMBF News.